Ohana means family. A little bit of Smeagol in there, too. The precious. Oh. My daughter loves the Stitch toy, and sometimes I do the voice. Hello. What's going on? I'm the weird dad, I guess. I just watched Lilo and Stitch, the remake, in a theater with a bunch of kids, and I'm just sitting up there in the corner by myself. Riley's got to be a little older before we go to the theater, but we're going to talk about this remake. I am a fan of the OG Lilo and Stitch. It's kind of my generation that grew up with this film. It's not my favorite Disney movie of all time, but I do kind of cherish it in that nostalgic way. But I also acknowledge it's a very well put together movie and story. So my question was, can the new one recapture just an inkling of that magic? Because frankly, we don't get that a lot with these remakes. I think we did in the beginning, and lately we just haven't. Snow White came out this year. Remember that one? So is Lilo and Stitch better than Snow White? Won't take much.
We have apprehended a dangerous experiment. Where is he?
He escaped.
He's trying to find the police cruisers.
Lilo & Stitch is obviously rated PG for action, peril, thematic elements. It is the perfect film to take your family to. Not saying it's a perfect film, but looking at this from that standpoint, that's kind of what you want from a Disney live-action remake. You want the kids to enjoy it, but the parents also need a reason to pay all of that money and not bore themselves to death with the movie they're watching for their kids. I think Lilo & Stitch is a good example of a film that everyone there can enjoy if you're going for your kids, but it's definitely not going to fully achieve some of those lofty standards hardcore fans of the original have for it. And so let's dive in. Obviously, it's about a young Hawaiian girl who befriends a runaway alien, and we got all the characters, well, most of the characters that we know and love from the original, leaving out a couple here and there, which, I didn't love that decision. I understand the idea of making it overly convoluted. We don't want to do too much, but the original's runtime was like an hour 25. This one's runtime is an hour 40-something. This one had less characters. The original feels like a tighter movie. And so, it all comes down to how those characters and the runtime is executed. And I look at the original 2002 Lilo and Stitch and say, yeah, that is just a beautiful blend of pacing and a tight runtime, and you get the gist from the story. You love all of the characters. I can't quite look at this one and say that. I understand. If you haven't really seen the original, I feel like a lot of kids are going to watch this and feel that magic because it is the gist of the characters. It's the gist of the story, and it's a beautiful story. And so I do feel like this movie is going to work for a lot of kids. They're going to grow up very nostalgic. But again, I'm asking the question, is it quality filmmaking? I will say this is from director Dean Fleischer Camp, who did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which was a beautiful movie, and so I knew there were going to be some things about the direction that worked. Does it still at times have that Disney Plus, Disney remake feel like some of these remakes have where, it's not quite living up to the original and there's that look to it that kind of reminds you of a Disney Plus show? Yeah, that's in there. And so I don't know if that's just like the standard thing that they're doing for all of them now. But with a director like this, you're going to have a couple of really quality elements, specifically, and I'm not just talking the look of the movie, specifically how the characters interact. And that's what I want to get into, man. The shining beacon of this movie is the exact thing that works so well about Lilo and Stitch. You want to take a guess what it is? It's Lilo and Stitch. This young girl who played Lilo was wonderful. She was charming. She had everything that the original Lilo had, and she worked well when Stitch was on screen. And so I love their chemistry. Now, that sister dynamic was something that I was really looking forward to in this movie. Like, how are they going to get this to feel as authentic as it did in the first? And while it does work, there's something missing from it. I don't think it's the chemistry, the dynamic, or even the direction. I think it's the script that takes out some of those very small elements. Certain lines of dialogue from the original, I just went back and watched it last night, so very fresh in the brain, that they didn't include in this live-action remake. And this live-action remake is 20 minutes longer, and so I'm like, why did you choose to replace that line that's so integral for the development of these characters with this other thing that just doesn't work as well? What's the reasoning behind that? And so that's when I want to dig into the script and say, I understand the idea of tweaking certain elements. There's a fine line we're walking with these remakes. Do we want the exact same thing? Then it's, what's the point, right? To make money. I get that. But at the same time, you want a little twist and spin here and there. But where they decided to twist it and spin it were in places where I'm looking at the character development and going, that would have worked so much better if she would have said that to her sister in that moment, if she would have taken her sister to get the dog in the first place. Like, replacing very core moments from the first Lilo and Stitch with these other things that just aren't quite as good makes this movie not quite as good. Austin, you don't want to compare it to the original because some people haven't even seen the original. Well, I have. I mean, it's a remake, right? So I have no choice but to compare it. And when you tweak things like that, maybe I wouldn't have cared as much if I didn't just go back and watch Lilo and Stitch, but I did. And I'm sitting here going, not only did you remove that quirky, funny line, okay, that's not a big deal, but it made the character choices make a little more sense in that moment. When you're removing something like that, I'm not sure if that's the best idea. And that happened several times, not just between the sisters, but specifically because Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, Billy Magnussen as Pleakley, and, I don't know if they quite fit. Again, it's just a big comparison game. That's what we're doing, right? That's what the review is. But I just don't know if they quite... I think Billy Magnussen works way better as Pleakley than Zach Galifianakis does as the character that I know from Jumba, but I understand you're switching up, going a different direction. It's fine, not the biggest deal, but I didn't feel the impact of their characters on screen like I had hoped to when I first saw that casting, which felt like it was going to fit right. And then you're removing another core villainous character that just wasn't in there at all. I won't say who it is, but if you watch the movie and you've seen the OG, you know. And I'm just like, why wasn't he? To save money, I guess. Why? But they did decide to focus on, and this is what kind of saves the experience for me, the heart of it all. Ohana means family. Just Hawaii in general. I've been twice now. It's my favorite place in the world. And all of the people there, the way that they feel about each other and the way that they celebrate family, this movie is not making that up. It is a beautiful representation of that culture. And that was fairly conveyed in this film. I think much better in the animated movie, but I was hoping to see that. I did kind of see that. I wish they would have went the extra mile, but when they do that, it works, and it's moving, it's wonderful, and I liked that dynamic between all of the characters involved. Before I give you my score, what is your favorite Disney live-action remake, and then what is your least favorite? I think I'm going to do some sort of list with the Disney live-action remakes, but I feel like we'll talk a lot of smack in that video. Leave your responses down below, share this video, drop a like, all those things. While this remake struggles to outdo its predecessor in any major category, there's a lot to love with the dynamic between its title characters. Stitch rocks, and there are some genuinely charming moments. The script makes a few unnecessary changes that make certain integral moments feel less earned, but it does just enough to stay out of that lazy territory we've seen from other remakes. It's cute enough. The kids are going to enjoy it. My daughter, she's not 2, but one of these days, she'll enjoy it when she understands what's going on. But right now, she likes this guy.
This Stitch toy, ohana, means family. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Still sounds like Smeagol.